Hello, it's your brother, and today is April 8th, 2013. It's a Monday, so we're getting back into the work week here. And, okay, so I want to talk about fighting, because fighting is something that's been kind of on my mind a lot recently. I don't know, I guess it's because the grappling season started back up, and I've been doing that a lot, but I've been really thinking about fighting. So, I'm going to present to you my algorithm for what to do in a fighting situation. First things first, I'd just like to say that I go by the mantra, never start a fight, but always finish a fight. So I never actively seek out a fight, but if I do happen to find myself in a fight, I will finish that fight. I won't stop halfway or something. So second of all, the first okay, so if you find yourself in a situation in which a fight could occur, the first thing you need to do is figure out whether you can possibly not fight. Because if it's not an option for you to not fight, then the next step doesn't matter. But you need to figure out whether, if at all possible, you can not fight. Because the next step is deciding whether you want to fight, whether you're willing to, in this situation, fight. And there's a couple considerations. First of all, unless if you're just so terribly mismatched against your opponent, you're going to end up in the hospital if you get in a serious fight. If you fight the way I fight to finish the fight, and your opponent is not terrible, it's a hospital trip. So just keep that in mind before you decide, oh, I'm gonna get in a fight, it'll be fun. Second of all is does the other person have a weapon? Because if they have a knife, then it's still an option for you to get in a fight. I see knives as an indicator of two things. One, it's an indicator that that person either feels that they're not as good as you at fighting and so needs a weapon to increase their skill. And if that's the case, then what you need to realize is that if you outmatch them, if you shock them initially, then maybe they don't want to fight as much, or they're not interested in fighting for a long period of time, which gives you a huge advantage. A knife in a fight on the side of your opponent is a huge advantage for you if you accept the second thing that a knife is a sign of. It's a sign you're going to get cut. If there's a knife in a fight, whether it's yours or somebody else's, you're going to get cut by the knife. It's unrealistic to think otherwise. So once you've determined whether you actually do want to fight, and whether it's an option for you to not fight, you should keep in mind the third thing, which is that offense is the art of taking up space, and defense is the art of creating space. So if you've decided, I don't want to fight, create space, run away, figure out how to put as much space between you and your opponent as you possibly can. And if they have a gun, guns bridge a lot of space, so you need more space than you think you need if the other person has a gun. But if you decided that you do want to fight, you need to get as close to that person as you can. You want to take up as much space as you possibly can between you and them. Which means my first move in any fighting situation would be to headbutt the other person. Let me tell you why. When you headbutt a person, it just shows in their mind a little bit, okay, first of all, this person is serious about fighting me. You do not headbutt somebody unless if you are seriously interested in finishing that fight. Because people who headbutt people are a little crazy. You're putting your own head, which is pretty important, at risk when you strike another person with it. But secondly, when you headbutt somebody, you have to get extremely close in order to headbutt them. So, my theory is always lead a fight that you want to fight with a headbutt. Unless if they have a knife, in which case, watch out for the knife, but still go for the headbutt, if you can. The thing about knives is, because we've already accepted that you're going to get cut, you want to try to get cut on your forearm, because that's where it'll do the least amount of damage. And if you can get cut on your forearm, then potentially you could end up disarming them, because when they take up space in order to attack you with the cut, then you can create enough space to disarm them. And that's a special technique that I'm not worried about right now, because really you can make up your whole fighting style as you go along, as long as you remember that the more space I take up, the less options you give that person, and you are on offense. And when you need to create space, when you need to back up and defend from something they're doing a little bit, then, you know, people, there are differing stances on this, but my stance is that boxing is itself a defensive act. Throwing a punch, a straight arm punch, is defense, because when your punch is fully extended, yeah, you're taking up the space between you and your opponent using that punch, but you're also creating space because they can't take up that space, if you see what I'm saying. So, like, to me, unless if you're throwing bent arm punches or headbutts or knees or elbows, you are creating space when you strike your opponent, whether it's a kick or a punch. And yeah, kicks can hurt a lot, but they also keep your opponent away from you. So just keep that in mind if you're ever caught in a fight or like a fighting situation. Determine whether you can choose the fight, determine whether you want to fight, and then take up space or create space depending on what your objective is in the fight. And then don't do something illegal when you finish the fight. Fight like enough to finish the fight, and once you finish the fight, it's over. Once they can no longer fight you, there is no fight. So don't, like, just stay within what's legal is what I'm trying to say, I guess. Okay, now you know how to fight. And that, like, the theory behind fighting can be applied to a lot of different things, but I'm talking about it with regards to fighting specifically because that's what I've been thinking about pretty much all day today. So, I hope you're having a good Monday, and I hope your week goes well. I know you're succeeding pretty well in your pole vaulting career. So, that's about it. I will see you on the evens. Goodbye.